All right, let's talk about player preferences and high score. I swear, we're getting close to doing everything in this game. All right, so we have the apple tree. The guy moves back and forth, drops some apples, gets some baskets, got a score. It's all good, but that's not enough. What we also want to have is we want to have something called the high score. Control C V, doom, boom. Copied it, pasted it. Have another one here. This is going to be called high score. All right. Boom, high score. All right, so it's the high score. All right, now the high score, the question here, one of the questions is like, well, okay, high score, does that belong to the player or not? I don't know. It might actually belong to the game or belong to the scene, or it's something that, obviously a high score, you're going to want to come back and revisit the game after not playing it for a day or two or 5 or ever, and see if you can beat the high score. Typical arcade kind of move, right? How do you get people to play the game because you want to beat the high score? So, lots of different ways you could potentially do this. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and for now, let's use the Apple Tree player as the place to keep the high score for now. Okay. So we have this thing that keeps track of the score. We have even score text up here. So let's sort of jump off from there and copy that. All right. And this is going to be high score. And this will be high score text. And this is high score. And we don't have the get life part, so let's get rid of that. But everything else should be kind of the same. Let's be careful. Equals, this is to high score.string, and this is high score, right? And this should be high score, right? All right, so this is everything that's going on here in high score. So we have high score text, we have the high score field, the high score property. To get it, we just get the high score. To set it, we set the high score to the value that we're passed, and we put it up on the screen, and everything's good. All right. But the question becomes, okay, at what point do you set the high score? Right. So what is the high score? Well, the high score is going to be, okay, if there's a value that is higher, if the player is currently playing the game and the player's score gets higher than the high score, then this should happen. Then the player's score should become the high score. So for sake of argument, first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I just like this as a move. I say, all right, score is going to be accessing high score. So I'd like to have that defined first. All right, so here's high score. It does not refer to score at all. Right, then here is score, and this does not refer to, well, it currently doesn't refer to score, which is a high score, but perhaps it should. All right. So what we'll do here is we're going to say, all right, if the score is changed, and we say, if score is greater than, high score, right? Then what? We say high score equals score. Look at that. All right. Now this is going to be dynamic, so if your score goes back down again because you lost a life, oh well. Guess that's going to just be part of it. But let's go ahead. Let's put that in there. All right. Didn't change much. This is better, way better than some of my other older versions of this. I love this. All right. Just do it all in that one spot there. Save. Play the game. High score, score, boom, play. See what happens. And got some apples, and lo and behold, score and high score are both changing because the score is the high score. If I start the game over again, the moment I get a high score, boom, it all changes. Right? Now that's all well and good. But what? Okay, high score is there. That gets set there. Did something weird happen? Did that not work? High score, text, high score. Let me double check that. Okay, hit play. Make sure this is working correctly here. Hit play. Huh. Why didn't my initial... Oh, I know why. I think. So, let's see. Here, let's look in high score. And here's high score. High score equals 0, private int. And that's the initialized value. And we said high score equals value. High score to string. It seems like the initial... I'm going to do this here. I could say greater than or equals to high score, but that's not really... I'm going to leave that off. Something seems weird here. Private int, field, high score, there, high score, high score. All right. Oh, I know why. Because down in here we set score to 0. So at start we set score to 0. So should we set high score to 0? Makes sense. All right. So even if we said, okay, score greater than high score, we'll do that. All right. Go over here, we'll hit play. And you'll notice that they both get set to 0. All right. So say, what if we wanted the high score to start some bigger number? We could do that. We could say high score is equal to 10. So coming into the game, you don't immediately have the same high score. That's one thing we could do. All right, we don't immediately have the high score. We have to go past 10 before we get it. But that doesn't really keep. We're not doing anything to preserve the high score between games, right? We're just starting with a new high score every time. How do we have something that preserves value across things? Now, Unity has a special built-in thing called player preferences. Now, what player preferences are, they are serialized, or they are basically a certain mechanism. It is certain things that are going to be saved as part of the project, as part of not just the project, but the game. Right? So once something is player prefed, kind of set in, then it is persistent. It sticks around. Okay. So we're going to talk about player preferences in another lecture. But for now, let's do a quick example here. So what we want to do is, as we came into the game, we would say, playerPrefs. That's a static class. We can use get int, and we give it the name of what we want to get. We'll call it high score. Could be anything. Could be named anything you wanted. And we give it a default value. So if it looks up that key and doesn't find anything, it's going to say the default value is, say, 15, just so you know. Just so we know it's different. Okay, so here it is. It's trying to find a persistent thing that is saved as part of this playerPrefs class, this static piece here that I can refer to directly, get int, and use that as the high score. All right? So that is going to get the high score. So every time we come into the game now, high score is going to be initialized to that number because we don't have a value set yet. So it's going to be 15 over here. Okay? But the problem is it's still not saved. It is only gotten. We only use the getInt part. So there's also, for playerPrefs, there's setInt. We'll talk more about that in a lecture. And somewhere we want to do that set. Where? Where would we want to do the setInt? Well, if we have a new HighScore value, we should set the integer. We should set that. And where does HighScore get set? Well, in its setter. Its function over here. Where is it? There it is at the top. So here we're going to say playerPrefs setInt, tell it the thing we want to set it for, and tell it the value we want to set there. Okay. So the moment we set the HighScore, we write that there. So we want to be careful now. We want to be careful. If we say HighScore equals 0, we potentially are overwriting the HighScore. Interesting, right? So perhaps what we should do, rather than set the HighScore down here using this, what if we didn't do that at all? We should never say HighScore. We should control. See, this is what encapsulation, this is what good object-oriented design is. We minimize the number of places we're actually accessing certain things. So here we're doing get HighScore, right? And if we decided we could, it's going to be slightly inefficient here. I'm going to say this is slightly inefficient to say, okay, if you want the HighScore, we want to really get the HighScore from the persistent version, right? So anytime you say get HighScore, it's going to go out, grab it from player preferences. If it doesn't find one, put 15, and go ahead and put it there. Right? Let's see. Are we tempting fate too much there? HighScore text, HighScore 0. And then down here, we say, okay, if score is greater than HighScore. Now, this is interesting. There is going to be the first time we're doing get on HighScore. So what's get going to do? It's going to say, all right, grab it from there. All right. Now, the one weird thing is we're saying, all right, if we don't have HighScore equals 0, then this set is never going to be called. Or this get is never going to be called, right? So we have to be careful of that. Let's see. Is this going to do the right thing? So HighScore is only being gotten locally. So let's see. Save everything, right? Just in case. Save often, especially when you're being super experimental. All right, we got to get that. We have no HighScore. We haven't gotten the HighScore yet. All right, not working right. Outside the bounds of the array. So something we've broken something. We definitely have broken something. Tree behavior. Apple tree player behavior. All right, what did we break? I'm going to suggest we broke, let's see, outside the bounds of array. Not giving me a clear indication as to what went wrong here. So let's do this. So we're going to kind of sort of have to back out. Oh, gain life. This is what happened. Did we call gain life? Again, said gain life 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And that was in the be careful here. If score equals 10, is that what happened? I don't know. Something bad happened. So for now, let's Let's unautomate some of this stuff here. Right? See if that fixed it. Okay. Changed too many things. Now we're just saving the value, returning the value. See if that fixed things. All right. So we're getting a score again. So we broke something in getting the high score here. So what happened? What happened? We set high score to 0. Here is the setter that would be called for that, potentially. Or actually, wouldn't be called yet, I don't think. So let's see. Let's see if we can put that in there. When we get the high score, right, and here, this is going to check. Okay, if score is greater than the high score, go ahead and get the high score, or set the high score to that. All right. Let's save that incrementally, see if that is causing the problem. So you can see my debugging process here, right? All right. That doesn't seem to have caused that problem. So if I put that other part back, we'll say, all right, let's do this. Let's update it. Let's get to 10, right? Okay, so something happened. Index was outside of the bounds. Well, of course, this is the problem. I started off with too many. That's what I did. Why did I started off with too many baskets, right? I shouldn't start off with 5 baskets because I only can have 5 baskets. So I start off with 3 baskets, then I can gain 1 basket back. Should have known that. All right, clear. Sorry, you probably hear my mouse thumping away over here. All right. All right, it's not set yet. Let's see what happens when we get to 10. All right, at least we're not crashing there. All right, but, and look, we got past 15, and now we have the high score. Okay, that's good. That's good. So we know what we're setting the high score. That part is happening. The problem is what's happening initially. So we get into the game, and nobody has actually accessed the high score yet. Nobody has done this. Or maybe they have. Have they? Well, they do this. They get it, but they don't. That doesn't cause an update, right? It doesn't cause an update because we haven't set it yet. We got it, and we haven't set it. So we could do one thing. We could just say, all right, well, anytime you get it, you could also set it, right? You could do this, right? Feels a little funky. That would work. Shows you the joys of a million ways to do things. Okay, there it is. 25 is our new high score. Oh, that's pretty high. How do you get to be 25? Try to get it past 25. 26, 27. You see it's increasing now. Okay, good. Next time into the game. There it is, 28. All right. So I now have the high score. What if I wanted to reset the high score? Well, I can leave that up to you, right? Somewhere in the game, probably the best place to do it is here in your scene, your main scene. In your menu, this press me function, I want this, or I want some function in there, right? Some function in there to say, all right, let's scale with screen size. There we go. Some function in this scene should be reset high scores, right? How do you reset the high score? Well, you set it to some other value, set to 0, right? So this part we did here where we said playerPrefs set int, you're somewhere going to have a script that just sets that to be 0. Okay, set that somewhere in one of your scripts. All right, that should give you enough fun to try out things. So clearly here, this game is looking, I don't know, it looks pretty almost complete. So it needs polish, it needs bug fixing, right? Certainly needs some polishing and some bug fixing. But we do have a high score. We have a score. We have the apple. We have randomly changing directions. We've got pretty much everything. And we didn't write an awful lot of code. Have a great weekend.